there, and welcome to our latest episode of What's on the Horizon. I'm Lori Scherenbrock here with Chris Schucker of Digital Horizons, and we were having a really great conversation before we kind of started our recording for the day about servicing equipment, and so kind of a common question I feel like either we've seen or that you probably get when you pick up the phone is, my current integrator isn't returning my phone calls. What do I do?
Yeah, we do get that call. Probably, I mean, don't get me wrong, when we get those calls, obviously it's an opportunity for us to gain a customer.
Yep.
But it's always difficult. In our line of work, there's a lot of things that are standardized, but a lot of things that aren't.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are left up to interpretation. A little bit of what we do is artwork, and every company kind of has their own way of doing it. They have their own manufacturers that they work with, and then those manufacturers have certain ways of making equipment and certain ways of configuring them, or in some cases certain ways of programming them. And in a lot of ways, when we get those calls, we're able to help with minimal friction, but it really depends on what the problem is. The worst case scenario when those situations happen is we're not able to do anything, largely. And in those situations, it's largely due to the home being operated by a control system that we don't work with.
Oh, sure.
There's 4 or 5 kind of main manufacturers. We work with 2 or 3 of them.
Got it.
And in the situations where it's someone we don't work with, it's just not practical for us to learn all of the ways of those companies, the manufacturers, to service things. And so then we can look at the age of the system and try and figure out how systemic the problem is. And then we might ultimately recommend a small overhaul so that going forward they have a refreshed system, but then also something we can service. But I guess I would say if you've had a system installed by another company, not us, of course, because we always answer the phone, we always take care of things.
Yes.
That you do everything that you can to reestablish that relationship, because it can be easier, as difficult as it might seem like it is right now. It will be easier to get service as it is. But if for whatever reason that relationship has been completely severed, either because you've had a bad experience, or I think like maybe the video will be titled, they're not answering the phone, you may not have a choice. And so it's you want to have as much information about your system as possible, which maybe at this point that's hard to do. So maybe as not necessarily a warning, but just something to be aware of as you go into the process of having technology installed into your home. You really should have some sort of documentation about the system. You should have, depending on the complexity of it, something called an as-built drawing, which is something that we create. It's kind of our schematic of what's installed and where, how it's wired, how it's connected. And so if you were to come to us and you have an as-built drawing, it is 10 times easier for us to what we call take over the system, because we have the roadmap for what was installed.
Got it.
And so if you can get that helps a ton. And you should do that immediately after the system is installed. It should be something that the company you're working with provides to you automatically, which is something we do. And then in addition to that, if you've had a system that requires some sort of computer programming or configuration, whether it's Control4, Crestron, RTI, things like that, it would be ideal that you get the programming for the system upon its completion also. Some of those systems, if you don't get the programming upon the system completion, we oftentimes can't do anything to make changes to it. However, if you have a system from RTI, the manufacturer of home automation products, or Crestron, another one, and you come to us and you say, hey, the company that installed this isn't responding to us, we can't get help. If you have those files that the system was programmed from, we're able to just put them on our computer and make changes, and the transition to us taking over the system and servicing it going forward is much easier. So as a recap, if you can get the as-built drawings when the system is finished, And then if it is the type of system that gets programmed, getting the programming files upon completion, having those two things will make a seamless transition for getting help from us or whoever else. If you're watching this and you're not from the Brainerd Lakes area, these tips are kind of universal regardless of where you're at. Will make your life a lot easier.
Sure. And is there ever a time where it's like, no, we need to start over from scratch? I mean, do you see that a lot?
Yeah. So we're in the midst of a couple homes, very high-end custom homes that had technology systems installed into them. And sometimes when we're called in, the system might be based on a platform that we work with, like Control4 or Crestron or RTI, but the install was executed so poorly that it's just not practical for us to try and make what's there work. And we need to go through and kind of just start over. One in particular that we're working on right now, a lot of the components are things that we're familiar with and that we work with, but it was installed in such a way that it is just actually impossible to service anything. And so what we relayed to the client was the importance of cleaning this up, not only for our ability to fix the problems that they have now, and it was installed so poorly that they have problems that we can't even diagnose in the state that it's in, but it'll allow us to diagnose those problems. But then going forward in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, for the remainder life of the system, whether they sell the home or someone else operates it, it can get serviced, things can get added to it. And so then in the future, when that service or system addition is needed, it's a simple process rather than being in the position that we are now, where it's virtually impossible, if not at best extremely difficult to do. So yeah, in some cases, it does require a ground up refresh. And there's been instances where we've been asked to take over systems, and we weren't willing to do so due to the liability that we would take on with the state of the system, and they weren't willing to fix it. And we just parted ways because we have a very high standard of an installation that we don't want to put our name on something that is in the state that it is. And so we're always going to do our best to do what's right for the customer. And we want the system to look like something we're proud of. And hopefully we always get the chance to do that.
Yeah. I think that's some of my favorite of the installation videos. If you get a chance to those, like when you go into the into like their utility room or whatever that is, and just see the incredible difference in pulling out all the
before
old cords. And then you put in this beautiful slimline system. Those before and afters are incredible.
We enjoy those a lot. It's the hardest thing to do in our industry is to take over somebody else's system. Because as I stated in the original part of the video, there's a lot of standards, but everybody can kind of apply their own
do what they want
interpretation to it. And so we have to kind of reverse engineer what somebody else did. And then put it back together in the most efficient manner possible, while also not missing any details, and on top of that, making sure it works like it did before or better.
Or better when you put it back together.
And we have a project right now that is it'll be. Obviously, it depends on when somebody's watching this video, but sometime in early 26, we'll have a large takeover, and we'll definitely be recording the before and after, because the change will be. It's probably one of the worst installations I've ever seen in about 2 decades of doing this, and the situation is really unfortunate, but we're happy to be in a position to make the situation right, because whenever something like that happens in our industry, it's just a negative mark on our profession.
Because not everybody is like that.
Not all plumbing installs or electrical installs. Obviously, nobody's perfect, but in some instances, they're much worse than they should be, and this was definitely one of them. So happy to restore faith in people in our trades, especially in our area.
And I'm sure sometimes you have to give the news too, where you look at the system and you're just like, it's just too old. because if there hasn't been maintenance done and if they haven't been able to get a hold of anybody,
Yep.
like at some point you get there and you're like, it's the point of no return. Like
Right.
it's time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's never an easy conversation.
No,
either.
it's not. And every situation's different. And, we always try to do things in a way that it is at least the minimum that's required, because we don't want things to cost any more than they have to. And we always try to reuse equipment whenever we can, as long as it's not a liability for us or the homeowner, because we don't want to put something in or reinstall something that's 10 years old and is a critical piece of component, and then within 2 years have it fail, and then that's a bad mark on us, because the homeowner is never going to really know. Even though we call it out, I would never expect them to remember XYZ black box that we said we could reuse. They're just going to know some critical part of their system isn't working. And so we're cognizant of keeping costs down by reusing equipment, but
within
to
reason.
the other end, we don't want to put something in and just cross our fingers and put our reputation on the line for saving, hundreds or potentially thousands of dollars.
Sure. Well, that's all really good information. And I think my favorite part goes back to the beginning, but like, that's why it's important to use local. It's important to do your research. You guys always answer the phone. That's, I think, what I've always loved about your service is that I've never not had a phone call. So if you're having trouble reaching your current integrator, definitely give them a call. The contact information should be down in the description and all that. But that's, I think, a point of pride that you guys should definitely have about your service.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thanks for watching today, and we'll see you in our next episode.